Michael Page is a living talent that cannot be hidden. After competing in a variety of combat sports, the British welterweight has made a name for himself with eccentric style and of course knockouts. Nicknamed Venom has become a shining beacon of Bellator, which draws the attention of the MMA world to the league. Today we are going to recollect all of his highlight blows responsible for dozens of unexpected concussions. Number 10 versus Jefferson George. Some see Page as an arrogant upstart in the cage, others know him as an adherent of semi-contact kickboxing, the type of sport that requires you to sell the judges every touch. After spending the 2000s as the star of amateur tournaments and amassing quite a collection of titles, Michael became famous yet not rich. So when an MMA career appeared on the horizon, he didn't have to think long. In August of 2012, he faced Jefferson George. The Cahoon gloves came from MMA, but the K1 rules were an interesting idea before moving on to the martial arts. Over the bout, Michael floated around the canvas effortlessly. Every now and then, Venom would sting with his flash right hand, catching the opponent off guard. Once Page found the rhythm, he began to surprise the audience with spinning moves. Michael assured that his opponent wasn't ready to dance this little tango. Jefferson in turn tried to disagree, though as early as the second round, the fight played out to be one-sided. The cross kept landing on the target until eventually it brought the storyline to an end. After a fiend, the blunt Jefferson's reaction and sharpened his own impudence, Page had Jefferson crucified on the floor. Versus Ben Dishman. In the context of stylish knockouts, Michael's viral start in MMA is something that cannot be overlooked. Ben Dishman, a debutant, was the one to test Page's elusiveness in the cage. Straight away, Ben attempted to ground the opponent. The second try ended in failure, as well as with Venom proving to be a better wrestler. Once Michael stood back up, he started picking his shots with his inherent cynicism. Rapidly discouraged, Dishman went into a relentless defense. From this point on, it was Page alone who determined the true duration of the performance. After filing a last-chance takedown, Ben was doomed. A high kick with a 360-degree spin sent Dishman into a delayed fail. It took Michael just one opening minute to rocket into the world MMA mainstream. Versus Ryan Sanders. Knowing that his chances of seeing glory in England were as bad as getting a letter from Hogwarts, the knockout wizard signed with Bellator. In March 2013, he was welcomed onto American soil by Ryan Sanders. The submission specialist with a 4-3 record was set up to check the British grappling in action. Sanders, however, ended up face down on the floor anyway. Following a 10-second bout, Bellator gained its biggest star for years to come. Versus Rainey. In May 2014, it was Rainey who became Page's first formidable opponent in Bellator. With 5 KO overnight victories, the so-called sniper not only knew the right way to take hits, but was also totally capable of throwing a few of his own. Still right at the beginning of the encounter, the gap and skills seemed to be evident. In his pursuit of Venom, the American looked as if he was trying to catch the wind. Even facing away, Michael kept controlling the events. By mid-round already, Rainey's head was picking up all of the Brit shots from the distance. The game grew boring for Page, so the overhand came into play. In the 5th minute, the real cage sniper charged a headshot from the right as the Rainey, and this bout, he's earned the cross-eyed machine gunner nickname at most. Versus Jonathan Castano. In 2017, Page found himself in a difficult situation for the first time. He had long been trying to get a fight with Paul Daly. The prominent compatriot, however, had different plans. Over his no-bout idling days, Michael grew a passion for professional boxing. The box office success of Conor McGregor's Mayweather fight only fueled his desire. Upon signing with David Hayes' promotion, Page stepped into the ring in October of 2017. He was opposed by Jonathan Castano with a frustrating 2-11 record. In the first round, Michael easily scored single jabs. The lightning-fast right was hitting the target too. The end of the second round was marked by a number of thunderous combinations. Confused Castano is unable to stand up with Page and paid the price for it. Turning extra gravity mode on, the Brit grounded the Spaniard with his infamous venomous cross. Easy money got Michael back into the ring in the summer of 2018. Polish boxer Michael Siach was an even better candidate for the standing punching bag role. After putting the opponent to rest, Venom decided to make Bellator great again and return to MMA. Versus Shinsho Anzai. In 2019, Bellator was determined to expand its horizons and hold a New Year's event in Japan. The arena full of samurai had a chance to see such greats as Fedor and Rampage Jackson. Future UFC contender Michael Chandler also made an appearance. As for Venom, he was scheduled up against Shinzo Anzai. The Japanese Octagon veteran with a 9-3 record was anything but a deserter. Hiding an unshakable will under his beard, Anzai survived some lethal bombs. By the end of the round, the samurai's fate seemed to be destined, and yet even armor-piercing knees fired directly at him didn't knock Shinzo out. But in the end, as the saying goes, there can be only one. Sometimes a fighter is too tough at his own peril that needs to be rescued. The ref did a great job, and Page left Sakura land with a whole new crowd of fans. Versus Rudy Bears. In July 2015, not yet a contender, but already a global phenomenon, Michael confronted Rudy Bears, who would be known as a complete fighter. And what Page showed there was more of a performance than a duel. For a full minute, he masterfully maintained the appearance of intrigue. Still, once the hand wave was launched, Venom could no longer be stopped. The fiery extravaganza lasted for a good 65 seconds, with a classy single-touch knockout included. Versus Giovanni Melillo. In November 2019, Page brought Bellator to London for the third time and became the headliner for the first. He was opposed by Giovanni Melillo, the organization's debutant. The flamboyant Italian with a 13-4 record at 8 KOs was pretty well known in Europe. Nevertheless, he didn't get to snatch the big score in London, utilizing pendulum footwork. Venom didn't even need to pick up his tempo. 2 minutes later, the artistic mayhem ended with a knockout. By hitting the Italian so hard that even he fell out of the camera frame, Page became the hero of the night in all of London's pubs. Versus Richard Kiely. September 2019 could have been a tipping point in Michael's career. Before that, he spent 4 months recovering from his first loss to Douglas Lima. And yet an infamous low kick and the uppercut from hell didn't seem to have any impact on Venom's frisky nature at all. Having reset the opposition level to 0, the league gave Michael a little-known Richard Kiely. The local Irishman with a 3-1 record claimed to have black belts in kickboxing and kung fu. His street attitude, however, showed it the weigh-in. In fact, it even drew the ref's attention during the fight. Although once Page threw Richard on the canvas and proceeded with a series of sweeping shots from the top, he tried to capture the moment. An imaginary selfie in front of the already irritated referee cost him a point. This, however, didn't really help Kiely, having ducked under the overhand once the Irishman fell for the feint, and bent again. Turned out Kiely wasn't the iron-willed titanium-jawed machine he wanted to appear to be. The flying knee and groggy road were celebrated by Michael's caricature dance. Versus Cyborg Santos. In 2016, the winged Briton hosted 2 big-time performances that sent him to stardom. In April, Jeremy Holloway spent 2 minutes tripping in the round cage until he was finally knocked down for the last time with a follow-up painful submission. A series of crashes led Page to a glorious toe hold, but that wasn't how the purebred puncher wanted to enter the list of MMA masterpieces. Already in July, he received Evangelista Santos, nicknamed Cyborg. The 38-year-old veteran had been in the sport since the 90s. Notably, every bout he fought was barely different from a brutal meat grinder. Despite the merits of the Brazilian, the Briton started the battle with the real fuselage. He was even better in wrestling. However, Michael's attempt to fit in the flying knee gave Santos the chance for a much-needed takedown. Page's endeavor to grab the leg of the BJJ black belt was unsuccessful. Cyborg didn't seize the opportunity either, fruitlessly dragging the bout to a break. The second round opened like the previous one, and Michael still couldn't pull the trigger. The beginning of the end was marked by a ramming liver shot. It was Cyborg's attempt to fight back that brought him down for good. The Brazilian head-on ran into the counter knee. Venom literally cracked Cyborg's frontal bone and gave him a steel plate in the skull. Fortunately, the funeral service was only read to the opponent's fighting career. Later on, Santos went on the mend, celebrating Page caught a Pokemon and the Sports Oscar for Knockout of the Year. After leaving kickboxing canvases a decade ago, Michael made his mark in MMA as well, and even though he's 35 now, Page still drives at winning revs. His talent is not just throwing kicks and punches, it's the ability to truly enjoy the process. If you liked the video, punch the like button, subscribe to our channel.